Episode 7 of Behind the Line. I'm your host, KC. Follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. As always, hit the like and subscribe button on whichever platform you're listening on. If you're listening on iTunes, give me that 5-star rating. Got a lot to go over today. I'm going to give you my college football bets for the weekend. Got a little bit of talk about some NFL trades in the NFL. New California law that is proposing college football athletes to get paid. But first, I wanted to talk about what's going on in New York. It's finally fucking happening. After years of god-awful quarterback play from Eli Manning, head coach Pat Shurmur has made the decision to sit Eli on the bench and start rookie Daniel Jones. Now, I said on this podcast a few weeks ago that I strongly disagreed a couple of years ago when then Giants head coach Ben McAdoo had made the decision to bench Eli Manning. But this is two completely different situations here. A couple of years ago, they were benching Eli Manning for Geno Smith, a well-known bum in the NFL. I don't even fucking know if he's in the league anymore. That's how irrelevant he is. But this Daniel Jones kid, you drafted him for a reason. So I completely understand. The Giants are 0-2 right now. They're not going to the playoffs. The defense is atrocious. Eli Manning has looked god-awful the first 2 weeks of the season. So there's no reason at this point not to see what Daniel Jones can do. We know what Eli Manning can, or at this point cannot do. Now, the reaction the past couple of days that I've seen on Twitter and Reddit have been mostly positive from Giants fans. Who can blame them? I realize that Eli's won 2 Super Bowls, but I've always been of the opinion that he was overrated. You take the Manning off of his last name, and he would have been out of this league years ago with the type of play that he has been putting out. Everyone seems happy with the decision except former Giants teammate Shaun O'Hara. He tweeted out how disappointed and frustrated he was with the Giants benching Eli, tried to blame the defense, the depleted wide receiver core for the Giants' 0-2 start. Obviously, Shaun O'Hara hasn't been watching many Giants games over the past 5 or 6 years. The Giants have had one 10-plus win season since 2010. One. They've had 5 losing seasons, made the playoffs twice in the last 8 years. Giants have only made the playoffs once since their 2011 Super Bowl run, and they were bounced out in the first round. 6-10, 6-10, 3-12, 5-11, 7-9. These are just a sample of Eli's win-loss record over the past several years. And you want to be upset that he's getting benched? I actually agree with him. The Giants' defense is awful. The pass rush, non-existent. Their wide receivers are either suspended, injured, or just not that good. All of that is true. But what's the excuse all of the other years when the Giants have been shitty? Because Eli has been equally bad all of those years as he has been at the start of this year. Actually, for much of Eli's career, the defense has bailed him out because he turns the ball over so much. So you can't use that excuse. Shaun O'Hara cannot use that excuse. This is the right decision, in my opinion, for the Giants to make right now. There's absolutely no reason to leave Daniel Jones on the bench the rest of this season out of respect for Eli so he can play it out. This is a team game. Leaving Eli in as a starter, it only serves Eli. It doesn't serve the team. It only serves Eli and his legacy. It's time for the Giants to see what they have with Daniel Jones. Now, where Eli goes from here is anyone's guess. I don't know. He's saying all the right things in the media about wanting to stick around and wanting to mentor Daniel Jones. It wouldn't surprise me if behind the scenes he asked for a trade. It really wouldn't. Eli, as we know, he's 37, 38 years old. I can't imagine he wants to finish this season riding out the last 14 games on the bench. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this could be his last year. Pittsburgh has an opening for a quarterback. Now, whether the Steelers trade for him, I don't know. I think they'll stick with Mason Rudolph and see what they've got with him. I can't imagine any team right now being desperate enough to give up draft picks for an Eli Manning that's 7 years past his prime. I've also seen a lot of debate this week about whether or not Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt in my mind that he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's won 2 Super Bowls. His last name is Manning. The Mannings are like the royal fucking family in the National Football League. That should erase any doubt you have as to whether or not he's going in first ballot. It's a done deal. But I understand why people feel like he shouldn't be included into the Hall of Fame so easily. Let's be honest. Eli Manning is not a great quarterback. Never has been. He is an equivalent to your elite level quarterbacks in this league. I wouldn't even put him along with your upper mid-tier guys. I can name 15 to 20 quarterbacks in this league right now that I would rather have on my team over Eli Manning. Possibly even more. He's that bad right now. Even in his prime, he wasn't great. Take away his 2 Super Bowl runs where he absolutely got on a roll late in the year and into the playoffs. Take those 2 away. Hell, in 2011, the Giants barely made the playoffs 9-7. During both of his Super Bowl runs, Eli Manning was unbeatable. But during the regular season, he was the same regular Eli he had been throughout his career. That 2011 Super Bowl run, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say they ended up winning 6 or 7 straight. They were under 500 midway through that year. So for argument's sake right now, let's take away his 2 Super Bowl runs. Eli's record in the playoffs is 0-4. And he's completing 55% of his passes. 7 interceptions compared to 2 touchdowns thrown. He's led the NFL twice during the regular season in interceptions. He's a fucking turnover machine. If you've watched him at any point with regularity throughout his career, you know all this. Betting games involving Eli Manning is one of the hardest things to do in the NFL. Because you don't know if you're going to get good Eli or bad Eli. The only thing that Eli Manning has been consistent with throughout his entire career is being inconsistent. If I were voting, obviously I'm not, but if I were, I wouldn't put Eli Manning into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. I don't give a fuck if his last name's Manning or not. No question that he deserves to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, the guy's won 2 Super Bowls. He deserves to be in there. But on the first ballot? No. 16 years in the league, he's made the Pro Bowl 4 times. 4-time Pro Bowler. 16 years. Like I said a minute ago, he'll go in first ballot off of his name and his Super Bowl runs. He's also been one of few quarterbacks in the NFL to consistently beat Tom Brady. Beat him in both Super Bowls. Has beat him several times throughout the regular season. But I feel like if you took out his name and inserted somebody like a Matt Ryan and gave Matt Ryan the same accomplishments as Eli Manning, there'd be no doubt in anyone's mind he wouldn't be on the first ballot for the Hall of Fame. All right, switching gears here for a minute, I wanted to get into a college football story. There's a lot of talk right now about this new proposed law in California. Basically what it'll do, it will allow college athletes to be paid off of their namesake. Basically, endorsements, anything that doesn't have to do with the school. This isn't the school or the boosters paying the players, which has been happening under the table for years. You can't convince me that big-name college football and basketball players aren't being compensated for their services. This new law would allow players to make money off of endorsement deals, things of that nature. I agree 100% with this proposed law. The NCAA is the closest thing to modern-day slavery that we have in this country. These young kids are making billions of dollars for schools, their conferences, the NCAA. Coaches are paid millions of dollars a year. The only people not being paid are the guys that people are paying tickets to see. A player has to sit out a year if he wants to transfer for whatever reason. Now, I know there are some exceptions, but for the most part, if a guy doesn't like how he's being used, if he's not getting the playing time that he wants, if he doesn't get along with the coach, whatever reason, they will sit him out a year for him to transfer schools. While a coach can sign a new contract and leave the next fucking year if he gets a better offer. The whole collegiate system is designed against the player. And it's an injustice, in my opinion, that's gone on for far too long. Imagine how much money Zion Williamson could have made last year at Duke. In my opinion, allowing college athletes to get paid would help college basketball immensely. I don't think it would have much of an effect on college football. The guys have got to stay 3 years anyway. But college basketball right now, your big name players are one and done. I mean, it's fucking killing it. If your top players in college basketball are already making millions of dollars, maybe they'll decide to stick around another 1 to 2 years and continue college. College life can't be replicated. I mean, it's a blast. Some of the best times in my life I had in college. You only get one time in your life to be a late teen, early 20s and experience that. Those 4 years that you have in college. Once you make it to the professional level, the fun and games are fucking over. The game you love becomes a business. It's an entirely different sport when you go from college basketball or college football to the NBA and the NFL. Now, most people have come out in support of California trying to pass the law. LeBron James has been a big proponent of it, but there's one former college athlete that has come out against it. Tim Tebow. He was on ESPN the other day. He said, and I quote, "I know we live in a selfish culture where it's all about us, but we're just adding and piling it on to that, where it changes what's special about college football. We turned it into the NFL, where who has the most money, that's where you go." He further went on to say, quote, "If I could support my team, support my college, support my university, that's what it's all about. But now we're changing it from us, from being an alumni where I care, which makes college sports special, to then, okay, it's not about us, it's not about we, it's just about me." To drive this point home, Tebow reminded viewers on how much money he potentially missed out on due to the rules as they were currently written. Talked about how much money was made from his jersey sales being sold while he was at the University of Florida, an amount that he never wanted or did profit from. Now, obviously, Tim Tebow's little diatribe here did not set well with the majority of people. Tebow was blasted on Twitter all weekend last weekend. Many of his colleagues came out against him in a respectful way, but other people in the court of public opinion were just nasty towards him. I saw a report where there was something like 8 million people last weekend attacked Tim Tebow on Twitter or on social media about his stance on this issue. Tim Tebow's always been a controversial figure, mainly due to his religious beliefs. He received a lot of attention in college and the NFL for promoting the Christian faith. Used to kneel after touchdowns. I remember in one college football bowl game, he had a Bible verse under his eyes where they normally put the black sun repellent ink or whatever the fuck that is. I really didn't have a problem with it. What I did have a problem with, though, was that people had no issue with Tim Tebow taking a knee, but were completely against Colin Kaepernick when he took a knee. Now, I realize Colin Kaepernick, he did his during the national anthem, but to me, the sentiment was the same. Both guys were kneeling in a public setting to take a stand for what they believed in. I don't mind people disagreeing with Tim Tebow, but I see people online telling him to shut the fuck up or attacking him personally instead of criticizing his opinion. There's a huge fucking difference between the two. I don't agree with Tim Tebow either. I've felt for years that college athletes should be paid. It'd be difficult for the schools to pay them, because if the schools were going to pay them, then they would have to pay all of them. And I don't feel like all college athletes deserve to be paid. For example, the captain of the fucking swim team should not be making $250,000 a year, because nobody pays to watch swimming. There's nobody in the stands. Networks aren't broadcasting it. But I don't see the problem with guys being able to go out and get their own endorsement deals if they can do that. I don't see how that would hurt the school at all. Obviously, like I said a minute ago, most of your college athletes are not going to get endorsement deals anyway, because they don't move the needle. But your top 1%, 5%, maybe even the top 10%, these guys deserve to be compensated. They're the reason that we're watching. We don't watch football on Saturday afternoons because the university president is a popular figure, or because Nick Saban is just that fucking entertaining. We watch to see certain players or certain programs play. But I do feel like the attacks on Tim Tebow are going too far. I've always felt like Tim Tebow was a genuine guy, believes everything that he says on the air. Never felt like he was hypocritical. You never hear anything negatively about Tim Tebow. He's a guy that lives his truth. He lives what he speaks. I mean, he's a missionary. He does loads of charitable work. He's never wavered in his faith. So, of course, his perception on college athletes being paid is going to be different than most of us. The issue, though, is that most of these college athletes we're talking about didn't grow up in privileged households. Yes, they can make money in the NFL or the NBA. But what if they get hurt while in college and their career is over? Or the athletic ability isn't what it used to be post-injury? Remember Marcus Lattimore, the running back at South Carolina a few years ago? Projected to be a first-round draft pick, then he fucks his leg up awfully, bad, and he ends up going undrafted. Never made big money in the NFL because of it. I think he had maybe 1 year in San Francisco, and then he was out of the league. He was never the same player again. It's not fair to these players that all the adults are making big money off of their sweat equity. It's also not fair to personally attack Tim Tebow just for his opinion on the issue. Criticizing his opinion like I did is fine, but the personal attacks are just wrong. Let's segue back to the NFL for a second. Jalen Ramsey has asked to be traded out of Jacksonville. And who can blame him? One of the worst run franchises in the league, consistent losers, though they were only one play away from making the Super Bowl in 2017. Wrote a great defense that season. Had they had a suitable quarterback instead of Blake Bortles under center, it's possible that the Jags win the Super Bowl that year. Blake Bortles is fucking awful. It just goes to prove the point that you have to have, at minimum, great quarterback play in the NFL to win the Super Bowl. Gone are the days of guys like Trent Dilfer winning it all on the back of an elite defense. That's not happening again. Yes, an elite defense helps. But if you can't score points, you are not going to win consistently in today's NFL. There's just too many high-powered offenses in the league for your offense to average 15, 16 points a game. If you don't know, Jalen Ramsey and Doug Marrone got into a verbal altercation on the sideline Sunday when they were playing against the Texans. He was urging his coach to challenge a completion made by DeAndre Hopkins, and when Marrone refused to challenge the play, they got into a verbal argument on the sideline. Fox or CBS showed it. It was pretty fucking ugly. There's a new trend beginning in the NFL that's been going on in the NBA for the past decade or so, though. These superstar players are starting to force themselves out of bad situations, which makes the lengths of the contracts that they sign meaningless. And they're wanting to be traded to better teams. We just saw Minkah Fitzpatrick do this in Miami. Le'Veon Bell, hell, he sat out the whole season last year to get out of Pittsburgh because he was unhappy with his contract. Antonio Brown did everything to get out of Pittsburgh. Same reason. Dee Ford, Jadeveon Clowney, both asked for trades because they got franchise tagged. This is a slippery slope that the NFL is experiencing right now. On one hand, I completely understand the player's position. These guys have a finite amount of time to win championships and make money. Careers are short. You're one injury away from retirement. You only have so many hits you can take before your body begins to break down. And you go from a potential $15 to $20 million per year player to league minimum. And we all know in the NFL that teams can cut you at any point. You tear your ACL, your ass is fucking gone. Sometimes. But the team has the option. On the other hand, this takes a lot of power away from the organizations. What good is a fucking 5-year contract if the player has the power to break it or force his way out of it? Look what happened in the NBA last season in New Orleans. Anthony Davis had 2 years left on his contract. And in January, he comes out in public and requests a trade to the fucking Lakers. Season over at that point. Now, the Pelicans probably were not going to make the playoffs anyway. They were ravaged by injuries last year. But still, I mean, to come out mid-season and do that is fucking wrong. Once the Pelicans fired Dell Demp's sorry ass and brought in David Griffin, then got lucky in the lottery and got the number 1 pick, they tried to convince AD to stay, but at that point, AD had all the power. I mean, who wants to keep someone in the locker room who doesn't want to be there? Now, like I said, New Orleans got extremely lucky in a situation like this. They got the number 1 pick, drafted Zion Williamson. So everything worked out for them. But what if it hadn't? What if they did not get the number 1 pick in the draft? The franchise would have been set back years with the departure of Anthony Davis, 2 years before his contract ends. Not to mention that a lot of these players do what AD did and come out and say, oh, I want to be traded to this specific team. Or they'll give you a handful of teams with which to deal with. Well, at that point, you eliminate the other 28 teams in the league. The Lakers last year, yeah, they had a decent trade package, but it wasn't the best New Orleans could have gotten if all 30 teams or all their 29 teams would have been on the board. Big difference between the NFL and the NBA, though. In the NBA, a superstar caliber player can transform a bad team into a title contender like that. Guys like Kevin Durant automatically put you into championship contention. It's not like that in the NFL. There's maybe 4 or 5 guys in the NFL that could have that kind of an impact. And they all play one position, quarterback. But take a look at the Saints. The Saints have had Drew Brees since 2006. Top 2 quarterback in this league. And they went 3 straight years and didn't make the playoffs because their fucking defense was so bad. So in the NBA, I mean, you get a guy like LeBron James and you could put 4 scrubs with him like he had in Cleveland. They're going to the NBA Finals. It's not like that in the NFL. I mean, in the NBA, just a star player, not a superstar, a star player can at least push you into playoff contention. give you something to build around. So guys in the NBA hold a lot more leverage than your typical NFL player has. Le'Veon Bell sat out the year in Pittsburgh. James Conner stepped in, became their new star running back. A guy like Jalen Ramsey, there's, 5 to 10 other corners in the league just as good and more coming in through every year in the draft. Star players in the NBA are much harder to find. We'll see if this trend continues in football. There's no doubt in my mind that guys in Miami are going to continue to request to get out of that fucking awful, awful situation they got going on down there right now. It'll be interesting to see how the league and the owners respond because the NFL is much tougher in their dealings with players than the NBA is. All right, let's close out with our college football bets for Saturday. This should be a great weekend for college football. First time I've said that all year. First 3 weekends have been disappointing. This weekend, it ought to be fucking amazing. Several big matchups. Let's get to it. Washington at BYU. Current line, Washington -6.5. I've been riding this underrated BYU team all season. And I'm not about to change it right now. I love this game right here. This might be my best game of the weekend in college football. Number 22 Washington traveling on the road for the first time this year against a BYU team that's on a roll. Coming off back-to-back wins on the road at Tennessee, at home last week against USC. One thing that concerns me in this game is star Washington running back Salvon Ahmed against the weak BYU run defense. Ahmed's on a tear so far this year and is a focal point on this Husky offense. He's going to get a steady diet Saturday afternoon because BYU's run defense has been fucking atrocious, giving up 225 yards per game on the ground. However, what I like about this BYU team is their clutch. Yes, the defense gives up points. They struggle to get off the field at times. But both offensively and defensively, this team has shown that they step up in big-time situations when the game's on the line. They're experienced in winning close games. Last week, the defense forced a big turnover against SC to close it out and win the game. Quarterback Zach Wilson struggles with accuracy, but led his team in a comeback win against Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. Washington beat the hell out of BYU last season. I think it was like 35-7. It was ugly. So we got the revenge factor at play here. I think this is a close game, which favors a BYU team that has come out on the winning side of close games 2 weeks in a row. I'll actually like BYU to win at home here, but I'm going to take the gift of the points. Taking BYU plus 6.5. Next game up, Auburn, Texas A&M. Current line, Texas A&M -3.5. Huge SEC opener for both teams as they start conference play on Saturday. Is it just me? I feel like Texas A&M's a bit overrated. Take away the 62-3 score last week against some school named Lamar. I thought Lamar was the first name of an NBA player that used to play for the Lakers. Didn't know that there was a college football team named Lamar, but apparently there is, and they played Texas A&M last weekend. Anyway, take away the scoreline. A&M was not sharp at home against Lamar. It was fucking ugly. Penalties, turnovers, drop passes, struggled in the red zone, settling for field goals instead of touchdowns, once inside the 5-yard line. Yes, the Lamar defense was stopping Texas A&M in the red zone on the road. These are the types of mistake you cannot make against high-caliber opponents. And make no mistake about it, Auburn's a high-caliber opponent. This is not the same Auburn team as last year. They still pack a great defense, but I feel like the offense is highly improved from where they were a year ago. Now, freshman quarterback Bo Nix, he struggled a little bit at times, I'll admit that. But he's steadily improving each and every week. Completed 75% of his passes last week. I do worry about this being his first career road start, and he's playing in one of the toughest environments in college football. Auburn's going to have to depend on their running game, and they're going up against a phenomenal Texas A&M run defense that only gives up about 83 yards a game. I feel like this is going to be a low-scoring game, a defensive slugfest, and in my opinion, that favors Auburn. They always say in football that defense and a run game travel. Auburn has both. The road team has dominated this series, going 6-1 straight up, 5-1-1 against the spread the last 7 games. Points are going to be at a premium. This line opened at 4. It's been bet down to 3.5. I feel like I'm getting the better team here with Auburn. I will take the free points, taking Auburn plus 3.5. Last game I'm going to bet for the weekend on Saturday, Notre Dame at Georgia. Current line, Georgia minus 14.5. It's not very often that you've got the number 7 and the number 3 team in the country playing each other, and the spread is over 2 touchdowns. But that's the case here in this high-profile matchup. Neither team has played anyone worth mentioning this season, which, if you've been listening to this podcast, you know that's no surprise, as seemingly no one in college football plays teams worth mentioning but once or twice a year. But I digress. This is an interesting spot here for Georgia. Kind of a weird revenge type situation for them. Yes, they beat Notre Dame 2 years ago in South Bend. Close game, 20-19. However, last year Notre Dame was selected into the college football playoff over a one-loss Georgia team who lost to Alabama in their conference championship. I feel like this could get ugly quickly for the Irish. One of the big matchup problems for Notre Dame is in the running game. This is a team that gave up over 200 yards rushing to both Louisville and New Mexico. You put that defensive front 7 against a Georgia offense that rushes for nearly 300 yards a game, 7.6 yards per carry, and this could get brutal in a hurry. Not to mention the fact that Georgia is strong defensively. This defense hasn't allowed over 300 yards passing since week 4 of the 2016 season. They've only allowed 20-plus points at home 3 times since 2016. Notre Dame has a strong national following. People are going to see them getting this many points, and I feel like they're going to jump on the Irish. I'm going the other way here. I like Georgia big. Buying the hook for the extra insurance just in case. Going to take Georgia minus 14 at home against Notre Dame on Saturday night. All right, that's all for today. I'll be back Saturday morning with my NFL plays for the weekend. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button or give a 5-star rating on iTunes. Leave a comment in the section below with your picks for the weekend. I'll see you Saturday morning.